ازيكم عاملين ايه؟ كل سنة وانتم طيبين. احنا بنرحب بتشيف مولينز. شيف مولينز هقول لكم بالعربي وبعدين شيف مولينز النهارده من بكره هو اللي بقى الشيف بتاع البوليس ديبارتمنت في ماونت جولييت. شيف هامبرج تحول معاش النهارده، فيعني كانت صدفة. I was talking to him while we were in a meeting and I asked him to come and do some talks of awareness, and I didn't know that he will be the one chief of the Mount Juliet Police Department here, so let's congratulate him and give him a hand. Thanks so much for coming. I think you will try to cover the questions first, or you want us to ask it, and we'll do it two way. Okay.
So your first question?
What's allowed and not allowed for punishment of kids?
Okay.
ايه المسموح وغير المسموح في عقاب الأطفال؟
Is it okay if I travel while I'm talking? Okay. So the first question I've received is what is allowed and what is not allowed to discipline your children? So it varies. It varies for Department of Children's Services kind of regulates this, but the general rule, what is acceptable in most cases is if it is a corporal punishment or a physical type of discipline, it's open-handed, no objects, no sticks or things like that, but open-handed and below the shoulders. Obviously, you don't want to leave marks on your children. Nobody wants to leave marks on their children, so open-handed, anything below the shoulders. Is there follow-ups to that? Okay. So the answer is open-handed, anything below the shoulder, no objects.
في الضرب ما نقدرش نمسك أي حاجة نضرب بيها زي عصاية، ولازم بعد الراس من تحت الضرب ومبقاش يبقى فيه أي حاجة فيها علامات وبحنية.
Open hand.
الأيد تكون مفتوحة، يعني مش باللكمية، مش زي ما احنا اتعودنا في مصر البكسات في وشنا. Okay, what's the legal age to leave my kids alone in the house?
So this also varies. I'm not giving you very specific information. I'm aware of that. So the general rule for leaving your children at home by yourself is normally acceptable above the age of 12. However, as the parent, you are always obligated for the physical safety of your children until they're 18. So if you leave your 17-year-old child at home alone and they do something neglectful, or you do something neglectful, such as leaving them at home and with a loaded firearm within their reach, within their capacity to obtain, and they do something with that firearm, then you could be held responsible for that. But the general rule for if your kids are coming home from school and you are at work, normally anything above the age of 12. Yes.
Do all the children has to be above 12, or one of them at least 12 years old?
So it depends on the age of the child underneath it. So if you're talking about one child is 12 and the other is 3, then that's not going to be okay.
Cannot take care of.
No. Yes.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
السن القانوني 12 سنة، لكن القانوني ما نسيبش العيال قبل 18 سنة، وأبو 12 سنة ده مش بيبي سيتر، يعني he cannot be بيبي سيتر لسنتين 3 is not okay. في سؤال على كده؟ يعني أبو 12 سنة ده ما يقدرش ياخد $2 في الساعة ويشتغل بيبي سيتر لأخته الصغيرة.
في حاجة كمان يا جماعة من فضلكم لو سمحتوا، احنا مش عارفينها كويس، ان السن القانوني زي مصر كده الأهلية القانونية. يعني ايه الأهلية القانونية؟ يعني الشخص ده مؤهل انه يتعاقب قدام القانون ولا لسه؟ يعني هو شخص بالغ عاقل راشد زي القانون في مصر ما بيقول، هو شخص بالغ عاقل راشد غير مصاب بالعته والسفه والجنون. ده اللي بيقولوا عليه في مصر، القانون بيقول كده في مصر. هنا نفس الكلام، ما ينفعش يكون اقل من 21 سنه عشان يتحاسب قدام القانون. واخدين بالكم؟ فيعني رفقا بالولاد ورفقا بالابناء في معاملتهم. و
What the age in weight for the car seat rules? ايه السن القانوني يتحط العيل في الكار سيت؟ امتى يبقى الديدلاين او اللاين ان احنا نتعاقب لو ما خدنا؟ هو الكار سيت ده مش قضيه سهله، دي بيعتبروها هنا فلني، جريمه. الناس بتخش السجن عشان ما كانش في كار سيت. في مصر الشعبطه في الاتوبيس دي لا.
Okay, so we're good? Okay, so this one is a little more complicated and it breaks down. I had to get this one on my phone because I would not go remember this one. So if your child is under 1 year of age and less than 20 pounds, the child must remain in a rear-facing car seat. Got it? If your child is from 1 to 3 years old and greater than 20 pounds, the child must remain in a forward-facing car seat. But if your child is 4 years to 8 years old, but less than 5 foot tall, the child must be belted in a booster seat. So again, that's from 4 to 8 years old and less than 5 foot tall. So my wife is about 5'2", so she can essentially be in a booster seat if she was under 8 years old. And then anything from 4 to 8 years old and taller than 5 feet has to have a seatbelt. Do I need to repeat that one more time? Because I know there's a lot there to it. You need me to repeat it? Last part. So if you're 5 to 8 years old, you can be out of the booster seat, but you're taller than 5 foot, you have to have a seatbelt on. But if you're less than 5 feet, you have to stay in a booster seat. Okay?
الموضوع فيه كذا سؤال، اللي هو الوزن والويت. فسنة و20 باوند اور ليس لازم يتحط في الباك الرير سيت، ولازم يكون محطوط في السيت. في فرق بين الكار سيت والبوستر. على فكرة الإجابات دي احنا هناخدها وننزلها على الجروب، لأن فيها 8 إجابات من 13 ل 17. must be behind، يعني حتى لغاية 17 سنة ما يقعدش قدام، يقعد ورا. طبعا سيت بيلت ده حتى 4 سنين لغاية 6 سنين لازم يكون عنده سيت بيلت ويقعد ورا، ما يقعدش قدام. ما أقول لك 13 through 17 must be behind. Yeah, you're right. Yes. هو بيتكلم على هنا السيت بيلت. Yeah, seat belt. Yeah. No, 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 no. I'm sorry.
No, by accident.
No.
Yeah.
No.
By accident. No.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Go ahead.
الطفل المفروض يركب امتى جنب باباه عند كام سنة 11 سنة 12 سنة عند
Up front, next to the driver, in the passenger seat. والسؤال هنا امتى حد يركب جنب السواق الباسنجر سيت سن كام؟
So it says from 4 to 8 is recommended to be in the back seat. It doesn't mean it has to be, but it's recommended that children under 8 years old stay in the back seat, but that's not required.
So above 8 years old can be in the car.
Yes. Yes, that's correct. No. It's 8. Above 8, front seat with seatbelt on. Yes.
فوق الثمان سنين يا حضرات لو سمحت فوق الثمان سنين مسموح له ان هو يقعد في الباسنجر سيت جنب الدرايفر. الكرسي اللي جنب الدرايفر اسمه الباسنجر سيت. فمن حق الطفل بعد 8 سنين، بس برضه لو الاوفيسر وقفك وكان يعني فهمه ان انا خايف عليه ان هو يقعد ورا، لو هو حاول ان هو يعني يستفسر عن ليه انت مقعد ابنك جنبك، فاقول له ان انا شايف انه خطر عليه انه يقعد ورا لو هو 8 سنين، حاجه بسيطه فوق ال 8 سنين. هو ما بيقولش اجابات اجتهاديه، هو بيقول من خلال القانون ومعاه حاجات قانوني فوق ال8 سنين. قبل ال8 سنين مش مسموح لك خليه ورا عشان السيفتي، هو كل ده عشان السيفتي. انا بفرض لك لو هو سالك هو انت مقعد ابنك، قول له هو اب 8 years. واخد حضرتك؟
We have a question here. The answer you have, can you send it to us? This way we can make question answer. Yeah, this way we can interpret it and leave it there too. السؤال اللي جاي بيقول امتى نتصل بالنون emergency number or 911 عشان كل المصريين هنا معتقدين البوليس ما بيجيش الا ب 911 لكن في حاجه emergency وحاجه non emergency. The question is when I should call the non emergency police number.
So the question is when to call 911 and when to call the non-emergency number. All right, so is I can't find my shoes an emergency? So some say maybe. So is I can't find my child an emergency? Okay. So it's everybody here kind of knows what basically an emergency is. Is I have a nosebleed an emergency? No. What if I have a big cut on my hand and I can't get it to quit bleeding? Is that an emergency? So it's clear we know what is an emergency and what is not emergency. What is not clear is because it's very easy to remember the number 911. It's not so easy to remember 615-754-2550. And why is that? Because since everybody has one of these now, and we don't remember phone numbers anymore, right? You remember when the phone used to be attached to the wall and you had to remember everybody's phone number? You remember when there wasn't a contact list? She's shaking her head like she's too young to know that. So that's where the problem comes in, because we've got so dependent on our contact list in our phone, we don't remember phone numbers anymore. So we don't teach our children to remember phone numbers anymore. We teach them to remember 911. So when we get mad at our children for calling 911, is it the children's fault, or is it our fault for not educating them on what the right number is and how to remember that phone number? Right? So we teach our children their addresses, right? When do we start teaching their children their address? What? Pre-K, right? So if we're teaching them to remember 4765 Lebanon Road, how much harder would it be to teach them another number to call, right? So I'm going to prove my point. What's your name? All right. So I want you to remember 615-754. I just said it and she didn't say it back right to me. It's 615-754-2550. You remember that? See? I just proved it, right? So what we need to do is to write our non-emergency numbers down to where our children can find them if they need something or you need something and it's not an emergency. Because we don't mind coming to help if you have a non-emergency something. So if you get home and you realize you've lost your phone, you've been out shopping in Providence all day because you got to go to the grocery store, and you get home and you realize I don't have my phone anymore, or I don't have my wallet anymore. Is that an emergency? No? So what number would you call if that happened? And that's the situation where you want to call 615-754-2550. And you can put it in your contact list and save it as non-emergency, right? If it's in your contact list, you're going to remember it, right? And you can save it as Mount Juliet PD. You can save it as non-emergency. You can save it in there as a regular contact, and you'll know what to call. Yes, ma'am. You have another question. So if you locked your keys in your car, is that an emergency? Are you?
One time was emergency. My child was inside.
Oh, so there you go. So there's a difference. Is locking your keys in your car and nobody else is in the car an emergency? No. Is locking your keys in your car and your car is running and your child is in the car, is that an emergency? Could be, right? So one number would be for what? 911. Another situation would be in a non-emergency number, and we're going to come and lock your car either way. We'll come and get your keys out. I'm very good at that. So that's about the only skill I've got left. So yes, if your kid is in the car, if your animal is in the car, that's emergency. You can feel free to call that number. If you lost your keys in your car and it's cold outside, go back in the store and call us, and we will come. Right? Yes.
ممكن نترجم الجزئية الصغيرة دي بعد إذنكم. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No.
So لازم نبقى عارفين الفرق ما بين الامرجنسي والنون امرجنسي. امرجنسي 911 في حالة I'm sorry معلش أنا آسف لللفظ مصيبة. ليه؟ لأن الامرجنسي كولز مع البوليس اوفيسر على السكرين بتاعته في عربيته، انت الديسباتش بياخد منك المكالمه، بياخد منك الشكوى في البوليس ديبارتمنت، وبتطلع في ثانيتها وقت ما تخلص مكالمتك وتهانج اب ذا فون مع الديسباتش بتاع البوليس، بتظهر قدامه على السكرين، بيتحرك فورا عشان يجي لك في دقائق بسيطه. لكن انا محفظتي ضاعت، القلم بتاعي وقع مني ما اعرفش فين، اتاخرت على شغلي، هكلم 911 ما ينفعش. يبقى انا هعمل ايه؟ معايا رقم اسجله زي ما قال في الفون ليست بتاعتي، هو معايا وانا كنت عندهم امبارح واول امبارح لان عندي مشكله شخصيه مع عربيتي الجديده، ورحت لهم وعملت ريبورت، استقبلوني بمنتهى الحفاوه والاحترام والادب، وعملت بوليس ريبورت. يا ريت كلنا نسجله 615 754 2550. ده this is non-emergency. مكتوب 615 754 2550. ده ماونت جولييت بوليس ديبارتمنت النون امرجنسي. ممكن تروح بنفسك او ممكن تتكلم في التليفون مع الديسباتش، وهياخد من لو الديسباتش مش يعني هيحولك على بوليس اوفيسر يعمل لك ريبورت. انا عربيتي اتخبطت عند الوول مارت، دخلت اشتريت حاجات وطلعت من الوول مارت لقيت عربيتي مخبوطه. طب اعمل ايه؟ مش هكلم 911. انا حصلت معايا شخصيا، رحت ماسك تليفوني ومكلم الرقم ده اللي هو النون امرجنسي، وعملت بوليس ريبورت، وبالبوليس ريبورت ده خدت رقم وعملنا على التليفون وكلمت شركه التامين. شركه التامين كفرت لي المشكله اللي حصلت والدمج اللي حصل في العربيه. كل ده حصل في حوالي يومين او 3 وانا قاعد في البيت، كل ده بالتليفون. فلازم نبقى عارفين الامرجنسي من النون امرجنسي. ال 911 في منتهى الخطوره انك تستعمل الرقم ده في اي حاجه بسيطه. تمام؟ حضرتك كان عندك سؤال؟
What is the subsequence of if I called 911 for non-emergency by mistake?
Say it one more time.
If I called 911 for non-emergency, what is the subsequence? Any punishment I will get?
So, there are
There's nothing consequences now.
So to hear his question, the question was, will I get in trouble? Is right? So yes, you will get in trouble. So the way it judges, 911 is for emergencies. So if you call 911 for something that's not an emergency, you're tying up resources or an ambulance or an emergency response, because we're going to be coming to you very fast. And then if we're coming to you very fast to come there to help you, and it's not an emergency, that's resources that could be sent over here, who she may be having a legitimate emergency, and you've rediverted the time of those dispatchers, you've rediverted the time to those responding officers or paramedics or firefighters that are coming to you for a non-emergency situation when we could have been spending that time over here helping her. And we want to make sure that we're prioritizing our responses in order to help those that need help the fastest, the most immediate needs. So there are some laws in place that's punishable by a fine, even going to jail. So if it's not an emergency, don't call it an emergency. You've asked a bunch of questions. One more question. Okay, what you got?
So the first one, how many times or how many chances I have to take classes, online classes, when I got tickets? Because I hear many different answers from many different people. Some people say just you have only one chance, and other people have, say, 2 chances to take the online classes.
Okay, so you're talking about a speeding ticket. Okay, so
If you don't mind, before you answer,
yes.
can he do the translate for this question?
هو في الحقيقه السبيدنج تيكت ده سؤال تاني is completely different question is coming، فنخليه لما يجي لان هو فيه 22 سؤال منهم السؤال بتاع حضرتك. احنا هنترجم بس السؤال اللي فات. هو كان في القنده عندنا في مرفز بورو رود اتقفلت، جه البوليس وقفلها بعد عدد اسمها ميوزك سيتي موتيل، اتقفلت بعد عدد معين من الاتصال بالبوليس. فالاتصال بالبوليس مش لعبه يا جماعه. هو على فكره ما كانش بيهزر، الكل ضحك على موضوع لو حد خد الجزمه من حد يتصل بالبوليس. ده حصلت من الكنيسه دي، واحد خد الجزمه بتاع حد تاني الواد اتصل بالبوليس، دي حقيقه حصلت. بعد ما الكنيسه بقى يطلع منها مثلا 1000 مكالمه في السنه، هو ما اعرفش العدد كام، ممكن نساله بس مش عايز افتح مخه في حاجات زي كده. يقفلوا المكان، الموضوع فيري سيريس. يعني لازم نعلم اولادنا حكايه ان نتصل بالاتوبيس بالبوليس دي مش عمليه سهله. وبعدين النمره محطوطه بتاعت الامرجنسي والنون امرجنسي نحطها في التليفون بتاعنا. انا عارف طبعا 911 سهله 3 أرقام وتك تك تك، بس بتتحسب علينا مكالمه، بيتحسب ان البوليس جه الكنيسه، بيتحسب علينا سابقه تتجمع، يقول لك معلش وي هاف تو شات يو داون. منظرنا ايه؟ دي حاجة. تاني حاجة بس برضه ملاحظة، يا ريت اللي معاه أولاد، عشان هم بالنسبة لهم دي حاجة وحشة قوي، إن عيالهم بيحضروا الكنيسة لو دبوس وقع في الأرض يرن. فيعني يا ريت نسكتهم، عشان هم عندهم حاجة غريبة دي، إن في عيال بتعمل هيصة. في حضرتك عايز تقول حاجة؟
Okay, if you dial 3 digits, that will direct you to the police department. If you dial 3 digits on the phone, that will direct you to the police department. Yeah.
Any 3 digits?
Yeah.
311?
Like any, yeah, like it doesn't have to be 911. Any other 3 digits.
311.
No, any 3 digits. No, any 3 digit random numbers.
No. No.
Yeah, because I was told like for emergency, if you even don't have a chance to call 911,
No,
you can
311.
just type in any other 3 digits.
No. 311 and 911.
Okay. Thank you.
311 او 911 اللي بيودي للبوليس في اسهل منهم مفيش يعني. بس النمره دي يا ريت نحطها عندنا في التليفون ونكتب عليها البوليس، يبقى هي دي النمره الوحيده اللي عندنا للبوليس، الا لو في حاله جامده. السؤال اللي بعد كده: What I should do if the police car follow me with the blue light activated? Blue light is on. What I should do is the police car activates the blue light behind me. What I should...
اترجم لكم السؤال بتاع مستر جورج. لو البوليس فولو اب ورايا، ماشي ورايا وانا ماشي بعربيتي، ولاحظ ان انا في مخالفه ما، انا مسرع، انا عربيتي فيها حاجه مش مظبوطه، وفولو مي، وحاطط الاضاءه الزرقاء، البلو لايت، الفلاش او وات ايفر شغال، ده معناه ايه؟ ده معناه ان انا لازم اقف، ده معناه ان في حاجه لازم هيوقفني. فهو هيجاوب دلوقتي ايه اللي المفروض ان انا اعمله، ايه الفيرست امبريشن، الانطباع الاول اللي انا اخده احطه جوايا لما البوليس يجري ورايا بالبلو لايت از اون، اللي هو النور الازرق انه شغال. Go ahead.
That was a lot. All right. So, getting pulled over by a police officer is scary, right? Nobody likes that. Anybody in here like getting pulled over by the police? You like the police. You don't like it. Well, you come see us. We won't have to come see you. Okay? So, what do you do when you get pulled over? What if it's dark outside? What if there's no lights around? Are you scared? Right? This side of the is probably scared, right? That side's scared too. They just don't want to say it. But, so what you can do is either pull over, or if you're kind of nervous about it and you're not real sure and it's not real lit, or if it's a very busy road, you can turn your hazard lights on. Who doesn't know what your hazard lights are? You know, everybody know what your hazard lights are? The flashy lights? All right, so we got our flashy lights on. Turn your flashy lights on, right? And then what that tells us is that you know we're back there. And you understand we're trying to pull you over to correct whatever behavior or whatever the issue was. And then you can slow down and drive slowly to the next well-lit area, the next parking lot, so you can get off the road. Or just pull over and try to find somewhere safe, pull well off the road so that when we approach. But when we approach, what do? Right? So you get scared and you're going through your car and you're looking for all your stuff because you don't know what we're going to ask you for. Until we get up and we start talking to you, just sit still. Keep your hands on the steering wheel so we can see your hands. And really what's going to hurt us in your car is your hands, right? So once we pull you over, sit still in your car. Don't start reaching around the car looking for your driver's license or your registration or your insurance that's in the glove box under 3 days worth of McDonald's wrappers. Just pull over there and sit still. Put your hands on the steering wheel and let the officer come up and tell you why he stopped you. He might be stopping you for something that's very minor and that you don't need any of that stuff for. But when he sees you stop and he sees you now reaching around the car, reaching into your glove box, reaching under your seat, reaching into your console, he doesn't know what you're reaching for. Right? And now he's going to be a little bit nervous and you're very nervous. So we don't want that. So just pull over sit still, remain calm, and just keep your hands on the steering wheel where the officer can see it. And then he will come up and tell you what he needs from you. And then as he asks you and he says, I need your registration, tell him it's in my glove box. And he will acknowledge you and say, go ahead and get it. So now he knows what you're reaching for. He knows where you're going to be reaching. And he's more comfortable in that situation. You're more comfortable in that situation. But the pastor said something to me earlier when we were in the offices. Gun laws are a little bit less restrictive here than where you're from, right? So what if you have a gun in your car? What if you have some type of weapon in your car? What do? Right? Don't start reaching around the car for stuff. Sit with your hands on the wheel, and the officer will come up and he's going to talk to you. First thing you need to do is tell him, I have such and such in my glove box. I have such and such under my seat. And just tell him where it is, and he's going to acknowledge that you have it. This is Tennessee. We're just going to assume everybody's got a weapon of some sort in their car. It's just the way that it is. We're just going to assume that. And now that you've told us where it is, and we know where you're reaching for, we're just going to say, don't reach there. Right? If you tell me that you have a gun in your glove box, well, we're just going to leave the glove box alone. Right? And we're going to conduct our traffic stop without you reaching for that glove box. Right? It's going to be a very calm situation. It's going to be a very polite situation. And we're going to engage like two adults. And we're going to tell you what you did. You're going to tell us that you don't think you done it. And we're going to get through the traffic stop and everybody's going to be good to go. Okay? So just don't reach for nothing. Remain very calm. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. And if you have something in the car that we should know about, just tell us. But don't take your hands off the steering wheel. And definitely don't reach for it. Don't say, I've got a gun in my console. Don't do that. Right? Hands on the steering wheel. I have a gun in my console. Hands on the steering wheel.
Thank you, sir. خلاص عرفنا البوليس جري ورايا وانا ماشي في امان الله والبوليس جري ورايا. ده first impression the deepest. الانطباع الاول هو الانطباع الاخير. اول حاجه هعملها هاخد اي جنب يمين خالي من العربيات. ما ينفعش اقف في الشمال. يعني انا ماشي اهو بعربيتي ما ينفعش اجي له كده عشان يجي ورايا يقف. وما ينفعش اقف في نص الطريق. على اليمين. على اليمين. لو هنزل اي مكان فاضي اي محل من الباركنج لوت بتاع المحلات اي مكان فاضي هنزل وهو هيفولو مي. اول حاجه لازم افتح الازاز. هو هيجي لي من جنب العربيه من جنب الجنب بتاع السواق من ورا. لازم افتح الازاز واحط ايدي على طاره الدركسيون. امسكهم بايديا الاثنين كده عشان ابين له ان انا مش هقاومك. انا مش هعمل فيك حاجه ما تقلقش. تمام. هيجي من جنب العربيه واكون فاتح الازاز للمره الثانيه. ابقى اكد عليكم ما ينفعش تكون قافل الازاز وتستناه لما يجي لك. وابقى ماسك الستيرنج بتاع العربيه اللي هو الدركسيون ماسكهم بايديا الاثنين عشان ابين له ان ايدي فاضيه. مفيش اي حاجه او اي نوع من المقاومه انا هقاومك بيها. اتفقنا؟ ما هيش بيج ديل يعني ان انت تسيب العربيه. بس اعتقد ان انت بتبطلها احسن. يعني هتوفر بنزين على الاقل. انك ما تجريش.
You don't have to. If you want to, you can turn off the car, but you don't have to.
It is optional. يعني عايز تبطلها بطلها. عايز تخليها دايره دايره. المهم ان انت برضو ما تحسسوش ان انت هينزل من عربيته وانت تطلع تجري. احنا مش مجرمين لدرجه ان احنا نعمل كده ونقاوم البوليس بالطريقه دي. ما حدش فينا هيعمل كده. الجزئيه الثانيه والجزئيه المهمه جدا المسدس. بالنسبه للرجاله اللي معاه مسدس لازم لو معاه كاري بيرميت جان هيطلعها ويقول له الدرايف لايسنس البيبر ورك بتاعك الدرايف لايسنس الريجستريشن بتاع العربيه الانشيورنس. 3 ورقات مهمين هتطلعهم لضابط البوليس او للاوفيسر. 3 ورقات هتقدمهم له معاهم حاجه مهمه لان هو لما هيرجع يتشك عليك على السيستم بتاعه هيلاقي ان انت معاك ايه؟ معاك جن. واخدين بالكم؟ او معاك ما يثبت ان معاك رخصه ليها جن، فانت اندرنيس الجن في الكونسول بتاع العربيه، في الداشبورد بتاع العربيه، وريفر اللي انت في اي مكان. I have my gun underneath sir, this is my paperwork. الاربع حاجات: الكاري بيرميت جان اللي هي زي الدرايف لايسنس، لو معاك واحده كاري بيرميت جان زي دي، زي الدرايف لايسنس بالظبط. خلاص هتوريها له مع الدرايف لايسنس، مع الورق بتاع الانشورنس، مع الورق بتاع الريجستريشن، واخدين بالكم؟ وبعد كده انا بقول له ان انا معايا المسدس بتاعي، وفي حاجه مهمه وفي منتهى الخطوره: unloaded بليز. المسدس لازم يبقى الخزنه بتاعته طالعه ومحطوطه جنب المسدس، ما ينفعش عشان هو لو طلبوا منك طلعش المسدس من الشباك وتقول له خدها في وشه. ممكن يقول لك كان اي سي ات، هتعمل ايه؟ هتحط له الطبنجه في وشه كده وتقول له خدها اهو؟ مش هينفع، ده حاجه في منتهى الخطوره، ممكن تطلع طلقه بطريق الخطا، فما ينفعش ان احنا نعمل كده. المسدس جزئين اتنين: جزء الخزنه مع الطلقات تبقى لودد انت واخده عشان تدافع عن نفسك، بس فاصلها عن الطبنجه. الحاجات دي انا واخد فيها كورس، يعني مش عايز اقول لكم، لازم تكون مفصوله عن الجزئيه بتاعت الخزنه اللي فيها الطلقات، مفصوله عن المسدس نفسه ومحطوطه جنبيه. خلاص؟
بس في حاجة ونسيها يا أستاذ عماد، إن قبل ما تفتح الدرج اللي جنبك ده تجيب الورق لازم تستأذن. ده مهم على فكرة، يعني بيفيل سيف خالص ويتعامل معاك بطريقة تانية خالص لما بيلاقي إيدك على الدركسيون وأنت بتستأذن قبل ما تفتح. أنا ماشي. النكست كويشن.
هو برضو بيحبس في الحقيقة إن إحنا نعمل الفلاش لايت is a good indication إن أنا شايفك وأنا عارف إنك عايز توقفني وأنا حاضر، أنا ماشي بالبروسيجر وأنا مهدي أهو، وهخش أول ما يجي لي مجال أنا أخش. فأول ما تحط الفلاش لايت وتقف كويس، لو عايز تطفي العربية هيبقى بلس but you don't have to. بس موضوع ان الفلاش لايت عشان على طول هتديله السيجنال، هو حط لك البلو لايت، انت حط له فلاش لايت، انا شفتك خلاص انا هقف، فدي تديله الامان. السؤال اللي بعد كده what is my right if I have been treated badly by the police officer?
Okay. So the question is, what is my rights if I've been treated badly by a police officer? Ironically, I had this very same phone call in the parking lot out here. I was getting out of my car, and a lady called me and gave me her version of events and said that she had been mistreated and that her rights had been violated by a police officer. So your rights in that situation is, one, you should still do whatever the officer says in that moment, okay? You don't want to make a bad situation worse by resisting or not following orders, right? You want to get through that situation, and then when you get through that situation and everything is safe, then you need to make a phone call or come to the local police department, whether that's in Davidson County, whether that's in Mount Juliet or Lebanon or Wilson County, wherever that jurisdiction is, and you can ask to speak to a supervisor, you can ask to speak to that law enforcement head, whether that's the sheriff or the chief. You can ask to speak to everybody. My deputy chief walked into the room while we were started, Deputy Chief Tyler Chandler. So you can ask for any level of supervision and make a formal complaint. The thing about law enforcement now is that most interactions between a person and a law enforcement officer is now on some form of video, right? You can have the officer's video camera that's in his car. There's normally one attached to his body. I believe the deputy chief does have his body camera on him now. So there's going to be a video interaction between that officer and that individual that has been wronged. But I'm going to ask a question I know is silly. Who in this room doesn't have a phone? You have the right to record us as well, right? So if I'm interacting with her, and we find it happens a lot these days. So if I'm interacting with her, you can take out your phone and you can record what is happening. Or she can record. Now, the difference between her recording and you recording is me and her are engaged in some type of investigation. Yeah, so she can still have the phone, but if we're engaged in some type of interaction or some type of investigation, she may not have the use of her hands. And if I'm not going to, if she's under arrest, or if she's been beating up on her husband because she looks kind of feisty, if she's been beating, and she's not going to be able to take her phone out and stop that interaction or stop that investigation to start a recording. Right? Because we have to have this conversation. We have to have an engagement. I have to know what she's doing with her hands. Right? But it doesn't mean that you can't record as well. So you have the right to record. But the most important thing is to be calm in that situation, follow the officer's instructions, get through that situation, get that situation over with, and then we can clean it up on the back end. We don't want to compound a situation and make it worse, right?
هو السؤال كان في الحقيقة لو البوليس قل أدبه على السايق ما كانش politely الإجابة we have to obey the procedure. لازم نحترم الشرطي ونعمل اللي هو عايزه وبعدين نتظلم زي مصر كده الضرائب كتيرة ادفع وتظلم. البوليس قل أدبه اسمع الكلام وتظلم. حد قاعد جنبك سجل له يعني ممكن تشتكي برضه. ده السؤال والإجابة. في حد عايز تعليق على كده؟ أنا بس عايز أرجع للسؤال اللي فات بسرعة كده دقيقة. الباسنجر اللي قاعد جنب السواق ملهوش أي حاجة أي علاقة اما البوليس يوقفك. اللي قاعد جنبه ده هو ما وقفش الباسنجر، ما وقفش الراجل اللي قاعد جنبه، لأن في ناس مصريين فاكرين زي مصر يوم يفتح الباب اللي على اليمين وينزل هيكلبشوا على طول لانه ما يعرفش داخل عليه ليه، ودي بتحصل كتير. اوكي what I do was I lost my passport or ID.
So passport or ID, there's two different things, okay? So if you've lost your ID, your Tennessee driver's license, then you can go to the Tennessee Department of Safety, or you can go to a local DMV and you can take your proper documents there and you can get a duplicate copy of that. It's very quick, very easy. Matter of fact, in our police department, who in here doesn't know where our police department is? Okay. All right, it's just right over there. So just go right there. So you can go and you can get a duplicate copy of your driver's license. Your passport is a completely different situation and it is not as easy. So if you lose your passport, and I don't know the different countries that may be in the room, but you have to contact your independent, your consulate or your embassy specific to your country. You can call the State Department, but they're going to refer you back to your embassy or to your consulate, and you're going to have to go through them to get your passport redone. There's nothing we can do to help you, and that doesn't seem like that's going to be a very quick process. Oh, a U.S. passport, as for a U.S. citizen. So you can contact in Nashville. There is an office down there where you can file for a lost passport, but that's not a fast process either. If you're a U.S. citizen and you have a U.S. passport, you can go to Nashville. I believe it's going to be Commerce Drive, but I can't remember the cross on that. Maybe Commerce and Demumbrum. It's the... I can't remember the name of the office. State Department, maybe. But you can go there, you can file for a lost passport. It's probably going to take a little while, but that's who you need to call if you have a U.S. citizen passport. If it's not a U.S. citizen passport, you have to go to your individual consulate or embassy to get that renewed. Yes? Can you do a police report if you look? Absolutely. We will come, you can either come to us or we will come to you and we will fill out the report, because you're probably going to need it when you go down to file for the loss, because they're going to want you to document that. And we would have no problem documenting that for you.
السؤال كان لو انا راح مني الاي دي بتاعي ايه اللي اعمله او الباسبور؟ دوبليكيشن. الدوبليكيشن اسهل منه مفيش، بتروح الموتور فيكل بتعمل دوبليكيشن حتى لو باسبور، بس لازم تعمل بوليس ريبورت. طبعا هو مسائل مين ما يعرف البوليس ديبارتمنت هنا، فكنا في مصر الواحد بيفتخر انه ما يعرفش فين البوليس، اسم البوليس، لكن هنا باسم الصليب الناس عارفه فين. السؤال كان يعني اوكي. السؤال بتاع الاي دي سهل جدا تعمل دوبليكيشن حتى لو باسبور، تعمل بوليس ريبورت، تروح على اتلانتا بتطلع الباسبور وانت واقف ذا سيم داي في اتلانتا. عايز تروح هنا البوسطه اللي عند الكيمارت اللي قفل في دارسون برضه يطلعوا لك في 15 يوم، فسهل جدا تعمل دوبليكيشن.
الدوبليكيت يعني صوره طبق الاصل من المستند. طبعا مفيش حاجه اسمها دوبليكيت في الباسبورت او في الدرايف لايسنس او في الكاري بيرميت جان، مفيش حاجه اسمها دوبليكيت. لكن لو انت التايتل بتاع العربيه مثلا انت فقدته وضاع منك، ممكن تعمل الدوبليكيت اللي هي صوره طبق الاصل، بيسموها في مصر صوره طبق الاصل من المستند. جو هيدا مستر جورج.
اوكي.
اقول السؤال اللي بعده. هقوله بالعربي الاول. لو انا اندر ميديكيشن، الدكتور كاتب لي بريسكريبشن والسم ميديكيشن، وسؤال منهم انا الدكتور كاتب لي مجموعه من الادويه، ونوع من الادويه ديت هو نوع من المخدرات، جدول مخدرات الف او جدول مخدرات ب، وات ايفر. في تحذير ان انا اسوق، في تحذير معايا ان انا اسوق، بيبقى مكتوب الكلام ده نوتس على الدواء ان انت ممنوع انك تسوق. لو حصل حاجه زي دي وانا كنت مضطر ان انا اسوق، طب اعمل ايه؟ If I'm under treatment with the controlled medication and I need to drive my car, what is the right thing to do? If one of the medicines like drugs.
Yeah. So the question is, if I'm on a prescription medication, what should I do? Because most of our prescription medication bottles will say something like, may cause drowsiness, right? It may say, don't operate heavy machinery, right? But those are just side effects that medicine may have. That doesn't mean that it's going to be effective on you. It doesn't mean the same medicine that you take, he takes, may affect you and not affect him, and vice versa, right? So the rule to that is if it makes you feel different than normal, if you feel altered in any way, then you shouldn't be driving a vehicle. If your attention is less than what it should be, if your attention is not clear or focused, you shouldn't be driving a vehicle. You know that you may be able to take the same medication and have no side effects whatsoever. You see these medications on TV and they run through how great it is, and then the last 4 seconds of the commercial, it runs through just a terrible list of side effects. So they have to list that because it may have, one of those side effects may have happened to him, and he may be the only person on the planet that's ever had this side effect. So they have to list these, that it may cause drowsiness. And some medicines will make me sleepy, right? And when I take those medicines, I don't need to be driving. But some medicines that say may cause drowsiness may not have any effect on me. And I know these things. But if there's any question whether you're clear, if there's any question of whether you are focused in any way, because the law says in Tennessee that to operate a vehicle, you have to be 100% focused on the road. If you're not 100% focused, you shouldn't be driving that vehicle, right? What happens if you drive it? If you drive it and you're not 100% clear, and for some whatever reason, you have now become the focus of law enforcement, because if you're not 100% clear, maybe you're driving a little too close to the line and you're bumping that line a little bit. Or let's say you're 100% in the right and somebody else here, because this man right here don't know how to operate a vehicle. He runs into the rear end of your car while you're sitting at a traffic light. And now I've got to come and work this crash with him and with you. And he may be completely at fault for that crash, right? You were minding your own business. But now I've had a chance to interact with you, and I can tell that something just isn't right. I can tell that you're not as focused or as clear as what you should be. And then we're going to take a few tests, and I'm going to verify whether you're clear or not. And then because even though the crash that you've been involved in is 100% your fault, you're the one going to jail for driving while impaired. You still go to jail. Okay? That's his fault. So, no. If you know that you're not clear, you shouldn't be driving the vehicle. And it's all personal accountability. It's all personal responsibility that if we know the medicines we're putting in our body, we know the effect that these medicines are having on us. And it's our decision as an adult whether to get in that car and drive it or not. And if we shouldn't be driving, we shouldn't be driving.
بالنسبة للسواقة السؤال كان واضح. لو أنا واخد أدوية مش سكران ما شربتش أي واين ولا ليكر بس كنت واخد الدواء بتاعي والدواء ده بيسبب لي دوخة ومكتوب عليه إن أنت ما تسوقش أو ما تعملش أي مكنة يعني ما تسوقش فورك ليفت في الشغل أو حاجة. القانون ملهوش دعوة. لو سقت وأنت معاك حتى دواء وأنت كنت عيان ولازم تاخد الدواء ده وسقت هياخدك السجن. ليه؟ لأن هيعملك التحليل هيطلع إن في دراجز لأن في أدوية فيها دراجز. وانس إن فيها دراجز هياخدك السجن. بعد كده بقى تثبت تطلع بقى بالكفالة وبعد كده تجيب الجواب من الدكتور إن أنت ده واخد أدوية وتروح المحكمة. هم يعني هو العملية عايزين يعاقبوك إنك تروح المحكمة وتجيب محامي. عايزين يعرفوك إنك ما تاخدش دواء وتسوق لأنها زيها زي اللي سكران. فطبعا القاضي في الآخر هيديك ديسمس بس هيدوخوك بقى شوية يعني بتفقد الانتجريتي بتاعتك لما تروح السجن عشان حاجات زي كده ويقول لك دي اي وبعد كده عقبال ما تتشير وتعمل ديسمس ممكن تخسر شغلانتك عشان بس ادويه هتاخد فيها ديسمس في الاخر بس هتتعذب شويه. السؤال اللي كده لو بيتي اتسرق ايه اللي اعمله؟ رحت البيت لقيته اتسرق اتقلب ايه اللي اعمله؟ What happened if somebody broke into my house and steal my goods my stuff? What I should do?
So what should you do if somebody broke into your house and stole your stuff? So this takes us back to what is an emergency, what is not an emergency. If someone broke in your house and you don't know if they're still in your house, is that an emergency? Right? If someone has broke into your house and you've already walked through your house and you realize that someone has stole your stuff, but they're not there anymore, is that an emergency? Right? Who says yes? No. If someone broke into your house and you've already went through and nobody's there, right? Now, your stuff. So is your stuff going to be still gone when I get there? So me getting there any faster isn't bringing your stuff back, right? So you got to determine how important is it that I get there fast, right? So if someone breaks in your house and you get home and the front door is kicked in and you haven't been in there and you don't know if they're still in there, and if you know if you go in there, they may still be in there and they may hurt you, then that's an emergency because we need to find out if they're still in there and make sure that nobody's going to get hurt. But if you come home and you're walking through the house and you've put the groceries up and you went in there and then now you walked into your bedroom and all your stuff is laid out on the bed because somebody went through your jewelry box, but you know that you've already been through your whole house and they're gone. It's no longer an emergency. But what do? Well, of course they take it down when I point to it. So you call the non-emergency line. If you get home and you know and that you don't know if they're still in there, then you call 911. If they're gone, call the non-emergency line, and we're going to come and we're going to take the exact same report. Right? We're going to take the exact same report. We're going to document that your stuff is gone. We may do some things to determine if we can identify any evidence that may have been left. But we're going to come and we're going to take the exact same report. Right? If there's a possibility that you're still in danger, if your possibility that someone is still there, call 911. If they're gone, call non-emergency and we'll come take care of you.
فكرة أنا ما understanding إن الاجتماع ده مش إجباري، فاللي مش مستمتع بالحديث ده ممكن يقعد في الصالة اللي بره، لكن في جروبات كده بيتكلموا مع بعضيهم بيعتبروها الجماعة اللي قدامنا دول بيعتبروها يعني احتكار ليهم، احنا جايبينهم عشان احنا نعمل اجتماعات تانية ورا، فيا ريت ما نتكلمش بعضينا، بس هي كلها ساعة نص ساعة وماشيين. بالنسبة لسرقة البيت هي نفس العملية، emergency ولا مش emergency، هنتصل بالنمرة العادية ولا النمرة الخطيرة. لو انت دخلت البيت لقيته متقلب ومفيش حد جوه، النمرة العادية. لكن لو انت حاسس ان في عربية واقفة بره غريبة، طبعا ما تخشش، وفي عربية غريبة بره بره، حاسس ان في اي حد في البيت اتصل طبعا ب 911، لكن ما تخشش وفي عربية غريبة واقفة بره وحاسس ان البيت اتسرق. دخلت لقيت البيت اتسرق وفي صوت فوق، اطلع بره البيت على طول واتصل ب 911. البيت اتسرق خلاص، مش هنعمل حاجه، نتصل بالنمره العاديه. كل واحد فهم الاجابه ولا عايزين تفصيل منه تاني؟ اوكي.
في بس جزئيه صغيره خالص، الجن من اخطر الحاجات اللي ممكن تتسرق منك وتسكت. الجن بالذات، لان الجن بيبقى تحت اسمك، ولو اتسرق واتعمل بيه جريمه هتبقى انت المسؤول عن الجريمه دي. Go ahead.
So the question is, what do I do if a child has threatened violence towards my child?
ايه اللي اعمله لو ابني جه او بنتي جت وكانت جايه بتعيط، حد ضربها في الكلاس، او انضربت، او حد جرحها مشاعريا physically او emotionally، حاجه حصلت، الواد جاي بيعيط انه اتهان، ايه اللي المفروض اعمله؟
Okay. All right. So I was looking for the little girl that was waving at me from the aisle, but she's gone. But is it going to be a shock to anybody in this room to find out the kids are mean? It don't matter if they're American kids, if they're Egyptian kids, if they're Middle Eastern kids, there are mean kids. There are sweet, adorable children, and then there are some that seek attention in ways that are not constructive or positive, right? So what happens if someone is at school or at the playground or at the bus stop being mean to my child or threatening to hit my child or to harm my child? What do I do? It depends on where they're at. So we're going to react the same way. You can call us non-emergency, 615-754-2550. Because if the child is not actively being threatened, it's not an emergency, right? If the child is actively being threatened, now we have an emergency, right? So if they've threatened to hurt my child or threatened to bully my child or done something like that. So if it's on the school bus or at school, take that up with your school resource officer, with your principal, because that's where their contact is going to occur. That's probably where the threat occurred, and you need to file the report where that threat occurred at, right? And you need to get those school resources involved in making sure that after we've got them involved, that the threat doesn't continue. So you need that ongoing help. You need that ongoing resource to make sure that you're sending your kids to school in a safe environment, right? So that they can learn. Kids don't learn very well when they're scared. So we got to make sure that we do what we got to do to make that learning environment safe for our children. But if it's not at school, if it's at home, if it's the neighbor kid, then you call us. If you don't want to, obviously if you want to have a conversation with that parent first, if you want to handle it if her kid is picking on your kid, you may want to have a conversation with her and says, hey, can we work this out between us, right? Because she's going to, that first question of how do I discipline my kid, she's going to handle that, right? Right? So she's going to handle that, and hopefully that's going to be enough to fix it. But if it doesn't fix it, then you got to involve us. Then you call us, 615-754-2550. And we will come out and we will intervene in that situation. We will talk to both children. We will talk to both parents, and we will try to mediate a peaceful solution to that situation. Sometimes you need a third party, because sometimes you go to her and she says, your kid's picking on my kid. She goes, no, it ain't. Your kid's mean to my kid. And these two moms are going to be very mad at each other, and they're not going to be very constructive in their communication, right? They're going to probably say some things that might make things a little bit worse. So in that situation, you may need a peaceful, calm, independent third party that the police department can be, that your principal can be, that your school teachers can be, that your SROs can be. So if that happens, contact the authority of that environment, or the person in control of that. What happens if it's a church? What if it's here? Yeah, that's his problem, right? So he's going to have to be that peaceful party. So whoever the authority is in that environment, contact that authority, and you can work out to a calm solution.
احنا بس اتقال لنا دلوقتي ان احنا فاضل لنا 15 دقيقة و20 دقيقة عشان التسبيحة، فهم 3 أسئلة تانيين وهنوقف. فالسؤال الأخير دوت الرد على ان الواد اتهان او البنت اتهانت في المدرسة، برضو قال لك الجاجمنت لازم تشوف هل دي تستاهل 911 ولا النمرة العادية اللي احنا مسجلينها في التليفون اللي احنا هنسجلها دلوقتي، البوليس ديبارتمنت، ونحط النمرة. طبعا لو الواد جه وقال دول هيمسكوني يضربوني بكرة ومترهنين في البريك، طبعا هياخدوني في الحمام ويضربوني. هنا تراتن التهديد كأنه جريمة. يعني لو واحد مثلا انا هموت الرئيس بكرة، ياخدوه يحطوه في السجن. ليه؟ لأنه قالها، مش هيستنوا ما ينفذ. فلو الواد جه وقال لك انا هنضرب بكره، ما تستنوش بقى اما يرجع لك من غير رجل ومن غير عينين، تروح على طول تقولي للمشرفه الاجتماعيه وتروح تقولي للنظره وتعملي تقرير في البوليس. لكن ما تنزل عشان يمسكوا الواد اللي هم بيهددوا ده، يقول لك ما تعملش كده. لكن الوقايه خير من العلاج عشان يوقف.
في نقطه مهمه جدا هو قالها او هو ما قالهاش، انا سالته عليها. في حاجه اسمها الاس ار او، السكول ريسورس اوفيسر، في الميدل سكول وفي الهاي سكول بوليس اوفيسر. من غير ما تطلب الرقم او من غير ما تطلب 911 او من غير ما تطلب النون امرجنسي نمبر، ممكن تروح للاس ار او تعمل ريبورت، البوليس ريبورت. وانا شخصيا واحد من ولادي وهو صغير في اعدادي انا عملت كده، ورحت للبوليس اوفيسر وعملت ريبورت للولد اللي ضربه. فحاجه سهله وحاجه كويسه ان انت جوه المدرسه تخلص كل حاجه. يعني مش هي شكوى للكونسل بس بتاع المدرسه او المدرسه او لا، ممكن تعمل الريبورت ده. السؤال اللي بعد كده
بيقول ايه المخدرات اللي ممكن ناخدها مصرح بيها في البلد؟ يعني للاسف what kind of drugs are legal now in Tennessee?
This is the easiest one I got. If you didn't get it from a doctor, you don't need to have it. Okay? If it didn't come from a doctor and you didn't go to a legal store and buy it over the counter, it's a no-go. Over the counter from a doctor. Anything else, eh.
I think this is the main purpose of the question, that there are many things in gas stations now, and we don't know what's legal and what's not legal, and we are afraid that our kids will be abusive to something like this or exposed to things like this. This is, I think, the main of this.
So now you took an easy question and made it hard. All right. So if they're selling it over the counter, and I say they're supposed to be, Tennessee has passed a law that says that hemp is legal, and certain things below a certain content is legal. And those are the things that are supposed to be sold over the counter at the tobacco stores or those type of environments. Sometimes people are not honest. I know that's a shock to everybody in here. But sometimes these stores are selling stuff that they're not supposed to sell. But it's packaged in something that says that it is. And that is a very difficult situation to prove. It's a very difficult situation to detect. We actively do that. But to say that anybody in this room is going to have the ability when I don't have the ability is probably not realistic. If it comes from a tobacco store, it's going to be very hard to prove. Now, in Davidson County, who's from Davidson County here? Nobody's from Davidson County? Okay. All right. So Davidson County has passed some different laws. Davidson County has passed some laws where certain things are legal in Davidson County that's not legal in anywhere else in the state. I can tell you the answer to that question, but I can't tell you the answer to that question in church. Okay? So, yes. If you're in Davidson County has different laws, different enforceabilities that their city government has passed. Right. That is not legal in Mount Juliet. So if you go down to 109 or to Lebanon Road and you go to Shiloh Plaza and you're standing right here and you're in Davidson County and you're doing some things that Davidson County says that you can do, and then you do this.
Gotcha.
I've got you. Okay?
That's mean depending on the location, not where I am at as a resident. It doesn't matter if I am Davidson County resident or Wilson County resident.
No, it depends on where you're at the time. You can be a Davidson County resident all you want. You come to my city with that mess, we're going to have a different conversation.
Yeah, everybody going to open the tobacco store in Davidson now.
طبعا بعد الرد السؤال دوت في ناس كتير عايزه تنقل دلوقتي على ديفيسون كاوني. هو بيقول في حاجات مصرح بيها هنا وحاجات مصرح بيها في ديفيسون كاوني. هي باز ذا لو ان في ديفيسون كاوني سيبوا حاجه معينه ان ممكن مصرح بيها، ربنا يبعد اولادنا عنها. هو بيقول لك لو حاجه ما خدتهاش من الدكتور او خدتها من محل على الكاونتر من والجرين مثلا او محل، دي تعتبر الليجل. لازم الدكتور يكون دكتور عامل ديسكريبشن او جايبها اوف ذا كاونتر. اللي انا عايز اقوله بس الحته الزياده هنا هو موضوع الفيب ده يا جماعه خطر. يعني ما تقوليش لا انا ابني ما بيدخنش بس هو هيز فيبنج. احنا كنا عندنا فيب في مصر، يعني الفيب ده اخطر من السيجاره، محدش عارف ايه اللي جواه واشتراه منين. بلاش موضوع الفيب دوت. السؤال اللي بعد كده.
Yes, so the question is, what are the main rules of neighborhood laws such as noise, privacy, security cameras, blocking driveways?
Let me translate it. حقوقي ايه ناحية الجار بتاعي؟ النكست دور، left side, the right side، جيراني دول. ايه حقوقي ناحيتهم وايه اللي ممكن يعملوه معايا وايه اللي انا ممكن اعمله معاهم؟ الكاميرات اللي ممكن يكون بيصور مثلا دخولي وخروجي، بيراقبني، بيعمل حاجه. ايه هي الرولز؟ ايه هي القانون اللي بينظم العلاقه اللي ما بيني وما بين جاري؟ ايه لو غلط فيا، لو قال لي باد ووردز، لو اي حاجه من دي، ايه اللي المفروض اعمله؟
Okay. So some of the questions, parts of that questions are a little different. So when you're talking about neighborhood rules, if it's not a state law or a city law, I have no enforceability of that. So in my neighborhood, I have an HOA. Do many of you have an HOA? Right? So a lot of your HOAs are homeowners association. That's what it means. What? So there's good things and bad things to having an HOA. Some of the good things about not having an HOA is there's the restrictions that are not as much. So, for instance, in my neighborhood, the trash goes out. Everybody's trash gets picked up on Friday mornings. And if your trash can ain't in by Saturday morning, you're going to get a dirty letter in the mail saying that your trash can got left out too late. In your neighborhood, you don't have an HOA. You can leave your trash can out all day, right? Well, good, okay. But, so some of the rules in HOAs are not enforceable by us. So even though your HOA says you can't leave your trash can out, that's an HOA rule. That is not anything that's enforceable by the police department. Okay? It says that HOA says you cannot park on the road. In my neighborhood, it says you can't park on the road in certain parts of my neighborhood. City law says that I can't park on the road between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. It doesn't say I can't park on the road. It just says I can't park on the road between those time frames. So if you're parking on the road between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., then that's enforceable by me. If your HOA says that you can't park on the road, period, that's enforceable by them and not by me, right? So if you're legally parked by law at 10 o'clock in the morning in your HOA, you're not violating city law, you're not violating state law, and unless you're parked in front of a fire hydrant or too close to a stop sign, then you can park there, and I can't do nothing about that. Your HOA may send you a ticket, they may send you a fine, they may put a lien on your house, but that's nothing I can do about that. Now, security cameras. Security cameras, in the state of Tennessee, it says as long as you're not enhancing the view and violating anyone's privacy, that you're not violating the law. So my house, I have a Ring doorbell, and it's a little too sensitive for my liking because every time a car drives down my road, it sends me an alert that a car drove down my road, and there's a lot. So as long as I'm seeing something that everybody else can see, there's no security. You'd have no right to privacy with that. Now, if I have a security camera on my house with a telescoping zoom and it's aimed at your bedroom window, maybe there's a problem with that because I'm not allowed to enhance my vision into somebody's structure, right? But just having cameras on my house is not a violation of the law. I don't know if that answered your question.
القانون هنا في قانونين. القانون الأساسي بتاع البوليس يختلف عن اللي ساكنين مع الأماكن اللي هم فيهم رولز. الرولز بتاعتهم مثلا بيقول لك ما تحطش العربية في الشارع، لكن البوليس يقول لك ممكن تحطها من الساعة 2 الصبح ل 5 الصبح. البوليس لو عدى مش هيديك تيكت. لو الاتش ام هو هيعدي هيديك تيكت وممكن يحط لين على البيت بتاعك وممكن يمنعك. ليه؟ لان هم الرولز بتاعتهم كده، الصوت العالي، الميوزك، الكاميرا. الكاميرا ممكن تحط الكاميرا، لكن لو انت حاطط الكاميرا بماجنيفاي جلاسز او بتكبر ومركز على اوض معينه بتاع الجار بتاعك، ده ممنوع. يعني كلندر برايفسي، ممنوع انك تعمل حاجه زي كده. الحته واضحه جدا ان الكاميرا ممنوعه لو انت بتستعملها استعمال خاطئ، ان انت مركز على البرايفسي بتاعت جارك، لكن تحطها على البيت عشان بتحافظ على بيتك انت، دي من حقك. الصوت العالي والميوزك العاليه والبارك على الجراس والحاجات دي بتختلف من شركه لشركه، لكن انت في بيتك تعمل اللي انت عايزه في الدرايف بتاعك. طبعا نيوجيرسي يختلف عن كده. نيوجيرسي ما تقدرش تحط عربيتك في الدرايف واي وتقفل بالعربيه الثانيه، يعني واحد زوج وزوجه مثلا، واحد يحط عربيته كده والتاني يحطها كده، لو البوليس معدي بيشيل العربيه الثانيه، ليه؟ يقول لك لو حصل حريقه في العربيه دي بيشيل العربية. لكن هنا الاماكن واسعه ونشكر ربنا احنا في نعمه هنا. السؤال اللي جاي.
السؤال اللي بعد كده بالنسبه للناس اللي جايه جديد من مصر، بيبقى معاهم انترناشونال درايف لايسنس اللي هي الرخصه الدوليه، واخدين بالكم؟ هل ممكن ان احنا نسوق بالرخصه الدوليه دي جوه هنا و الترافيك بوليس اوفيسر بيسمح ان هو لو شافها بيسمح لك ان انت تكمل بيها او يقول لك ايه؟ عاوزين نعرف الاجابه. What about for the newcomers coming from Egypt? What about if I just came in and I have an international drive license? I don't know if it is possible here to get this the same thing here in the United States, but we have this in Egypt. Some of us, when we came from the first time, we used the international drive license. If the police officer, the traffic police, stop me and he asking for the drive license, I show him this drive license. Is this legal for me to, or?
I'm looking for that.
هو قانونيا محطوط على الويب سايت ان انت ممكن تسوق بدرايفر لايسنس، بس البوليس مش حابب كده، هيديك تيكت ويوديك المحكمه، بعدين تطبع القانون وتوديه لوكيل النيابه يقراه، وبعدين يعني رحت مع ناس كتير جدا بتقول له انا لو اعرف ان انا غير قانوني ان انا اسوق ما كنتش سوقت، يقول لك روح خلاص، بس هيدوخوك شويه. البوليس مش حابب الموضوع الانترناشونال درايفر لايسنس، لكن قانونيا محطوطه في النص كده عشان الناس البيزنس بيبول اللي بيجوا بيقروا القانون وبياخدوا الرخصه وبيسوقوا هنا اهوت.
Okay, so the question is, can I operate a vehicle in the state of Tennessee with an international driver's license? So I had to find this one because I had one of our lieutenants look this answer up, and this is what he sent me. So TCA says, a non-resident who is at least 16 years of age, who has in immediate possession a valid driver's license issued to the person in the person's home state or country, may operate a motor vehicle in the state only as a Class D driver, which means Class D driver means you can't drive commercially. So can you drive in the state of Tennessee with an international license? The answer is yes. If you're 16 years of old and you're not driving commercially, meaning you can't be driving a limo, you can't be driving a taxi or Uber, but if you're driving to church, if you're driving to the grocery store, if you're taking your own kids and not getting paid to take somebody else's kids to school, you can drive in the state of Tennessee with an international driver's license.
So this applies for non-resident, but how about the resident?
If you're a resident of the state of Tennessee, you have to have a residential driver's license.
Some people, once they come here, they still have to go through the permit and give. So if you are a resident, the new BU, they have to go through the permit and the driving test.
Yes.
So can they drive while they doing the process?
So there's a time limit that says that if you're a resident, that you have to obtain a driver's license. And I believe that I think it's 30 days. Is that correct? It's 30 days. So if you're a resident of the state of Tennessee, you have 30 days to obtain a Tennessee driver's license.
هو القانون وكل واحد ممكن قوي يشوف القانون دوت. على فكرة أي سؤال عندكم ممكن تخش على جوجل ويجيب لك القانون ويجيب لك إيه اللي بيقوله. من حقك تسوق بانترناشونال درايفر لايسنس لو أنت فعلا غريب، لكن ما تكونش عايش هنا بقالك 12 سنة وتقول أنا معايا انترناشونال لايسنس. لو أنت ريزيدنت في البلد يبقى لازم يكون عندك درايفر لايسنس، بيديك 30 يوم بتكون عندك درايفر. لكن اللي جاي معاه انترناشونال درايفر لايسنس قانونيا من حقه، بس تاني مره الشرطه ما بتحبهاش، بيبهدلوا الواحد شويه لكن في الاخر بيطلع معاهم 30 يوم.
We just have 5 minutes. So, very nice question. Yes. Give me a second.
You have to have it on your person. You have to be in possession of your driver's license. You can't send a picture of it. It has to be on your person.
If he forget it at home, he means.
If they get it home and you have a Tennessee driver's license, right? We have computers in our car. We can find it.
How can, as a Coptic community, help the Mount Juliet Police Department?
All right, so first, the question was, as a Coptic community, how can you help the Mount Juliet Police Department? So, the start of that, he said we have 5 minutes left because everybody's hungry and they got to get out of here, right? So I'm going to be here after it's over with, so if you have questions, I'd be glad to answer any other questions. But to answer your last question within 5 minutes so everybody can go eat is, what was that non-emergency phone number? Yeah, good job. So one, learn the local rules, learn the local laws. One of the big questions that didn't come up is, and it was a big deal when we were talking about it earlier, is what happens when I get arrested? I don't like people to put their hands on me. I don't want the cop to put his hands on me. I don't want the cops to put my hands behind my back. What do we say about when the officer's mistreating me? What do? Do what they say. Don't fight back. Don't make it worse. If you're getting arrested or if the officer's putting hands on me, then do what he says. Because out there's more of us than there are of you, right? And it doesn't normally work out in a positive situation. So do what the officer says. Put your hands behind your back. Follow the rules. So that's what you can do as a Coptic community. And I very much appreciate being invited here so that we can educate each other. There's a lot about your culture that I don't know, right? I was asking a lot of questions before I came in here because I didn't want to offend anybody. So I don't know your culture and you're learning mine. So the important thing is to be willing to learn, be willing to have communication, willing to engage with your local police department, wherever that may be. Be willing to come into your church and take up your time on a Friday night when you can be doing a lot of other things. Be willing to communicate. We're open to communicate with you, and we hope that you're open to communicate with us. Don't believe what you see on TV, because I'm not going to believe on TV what they say about you, and they're saying a lot of bad things about me, and I'm not that bad. Right? So be willing to communicate with us. Be willing to be open and to learn from each other. That's what's important, okay? And if you're one of these people that keep bringing donuts to my police department, please stop bringing donuts to my police department. We get way too many donuts as it is, okay?
بيقول لك احنا فريندلي خالص. شكرا. هو السؤال بيقول احنا ازاي ككوميونتي نقدر نساعد البوليس ديبارتمنت. هو طبعا بيشكر السؤال دوت، بيقول يعني احنا كلنا عيله واحده، انت عندك شغل بتعمله وانا عندي شغل بعمله، فانتوا تيجي تتشرفونا في اي وقت، بس هات معاك دونتس، وبيحبوا الدونتس وممكن ياكلوه. فهم عايزين يعملوا جود ريليشن شيب ما بينه وما بين الكوميونتي ويحفظوا شكله. لكن هو عايز انفسايز، بيأكد البوليس لما يوقفك لازم تعمل اللي هو بيقول عليه. عايز يحط الحديد في ايديك، خلاص حط الحديد في ايديه وبعد كده تظلم. لكن عندنا واحده امتنعت عن ان الحديد يتحط في ايديها واتخانقت مع البوليس. المشكله اللي كانت بتاعتها انها سابت العيال في العربيه والبوليس هياخد لها الرست. كانت المشكله اكتر انها she don't participate with the arrest procedure and she didn't obey it. ما رفضت انها يتقبض عليها واترمت على الارض وزعقت لهم واتخانقت معهم، فالقاضي عاقبها اكتر من انها سايبه العيال في العربيه. يعني ساب الموضوع العيال انها سايبها في العربيه رغم انها جريمه كبيره، فلازم نسمع كلام البوليس وبعد كده نشتكي.
Last question in 2 minutes. What about if I have one of my kids, he's looking to be a police officer? if I have my son or my daughter to be a police officer, what is the first step he's supposed to do?
Okay. So before I answer that question, I'm not going to get out of the room without acknowledging my beautiful wife on the front row. She came to sit with me today. I want to thank her for being here. Deputy Chief Chandler's here on the front row. He came in late. He will also be available afterwards if you have any questions. If you see him on social media, who follows us on social media? Shame on you for not being on social media. Follow us on social media. You see him all the time. He's probably the most popular person in town. So follow us on social media. Our multimedia specialist, Jake, any of our videos or photos that you see comes from Jake. He's very young, but he's very talented, and we are blessed to have him. But the question is, what if I have someone in my family that wants to be a police officer? So some of the rules for that is, one, you have to be a U.S. resident. So you have to either be a U.S. resident or have your citizenship, okay? The second is you have to be 21 years of age, right? You have to have a high school diploma or a GED, right? Or it's the equivalent of a diploma. And you have to have good character, right? There's too many people in our profession these days. They're normally the ones that make TV, that do things the wrong way, that are not good character people. And it's no different for my profession than for any. What do you do for a living, sir? You. Yeah, what do you do for a living? So you're an inspector. Do you think there's bad inspectors out there? You think there's bad inspectors that do things the wrong way? Right? What do you do for a living, sir? Yeah. What do you do for work? You're a cook. You think there's bad cooks out there? You think there's bad cooks?
في طباخين وحشين؟ كل الطباخين ملايكة؟
Yeah, okay. But there's no difference. There's bad cooks in the world. There's bad, I don't even remember anymore, inspectors. So there's bad police officers out there. So we need to do a better job on our end, making sure that we get good character people that want to do the job for the right reasons and for the right way. And we need you to be those people, because I need diversity in my agency. Metro Nashville needs diversity in their agency. I need someone that looks like you or talks like you, that can go into a community and engage. Because I don't know what he's been saying. He could be saying some crazy stuff, not what I've been saying. So I need someone that can speak your language to come in to work for our agency and willing to learn and do this job the right way. So, yeah. What do I pay? If you want money, go be an inspector or a cook, because he's dressed very nice. So I'm saying he cooks somewhere nice.
21 years old, high school diploma or bachelor degree or master degree, whatever he had, but up 21 الشهادة سنوية مخلصها أو bachelor degree بكالوريوس أو ليسانس من أي مكان، background check clear، نظيف، ما عندوش اي نوع من الجرائم ولا اتمسك ولا ارستد ولا انفولفد مع اي مصيبه من اللي بيعملوها الشباب. مستحيل طبعا، لازم يكون عنده كلين شيت، الريكورد بتاعه خالي من كل بيعمل من حوالي من 70 ل 75 الف السالري بتاعه في السنه، من 70 ل 75 الف في السنه. ويعني بيبقى لهم مميزات طبعا تانية، البينيفيتس بتاعته بتبقى حاجات تانية كتير، بس هو زي ما قلت لكم كده لازم يكون معاه يا اما graduated from the high school او bachelor degree.
Thanks so much, Chief Mullins, for your time and for coming here. We still have many more questions. I was talking to Chief Chandler about this, and he said he promised me you can come again or he can come again. Thanks so much for your time and I appreciate that. And I'm so happy that you make it feel home. You brought Tina with you, and this is always gonna be, and you're gonna be welcome here. It's just just to appreciate your time. It's something very small for you. Thanks so much for that. And Chandler, thank you. And congratulations for your promotion. Thank you. And Jake Lester, also the gift for him. Yeah. Thank you for coming and recording this. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. Right. احنا عندنا انا عارف اسئله كتير وخدنا وعد منهم ان هم ممكن يجوا تاني. هم so helpful with us. انتوا فاكرين في الصيف we asked for some police officers to come to deal with the kids, just for them to not be scared from the officers, and they came. So they are always supporting the community. Again, yes, our kids were so happy with this, and again, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate that.
I'll say, really, and I know you're hungry because I'm hungry too, but if you have more questions, both me and the deputy chief will be at the back room. We will answer as many questions and we'll stay as long as you need us to.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And